many of the government websites have been hacked. And we are not ready. This boy is going to be a technology expert. India is shining. India is working very closely with the global players. But I think that the day by day, the new technology advent is coming to give us some more challenges. We are not there to address even the basics one as of now. I was not aware of.
I think that was the exact time when the IT boom started in India, right?
Yeah,
Everybody was focused on IT.
everything is happening. We are aware of, and but we can't take the name for that. What I found in Gen Zs, that they always complain to the parents, and then the gatherings there around that we don't have any support, or they either go to the Insta so-called reels, the motivation speak. Before they were my classmates, and one day later they all were my students. You have to figure it out that what is your USP. You asked me about the networking, we did that, and the entire state of Telangana, BharatNet,
Struggling between where to pay. During that time, did you got this request of hacking someone's Facebook ID or maybe a Gmail ID?
Hollywood, or any Bollywood movies. Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman movie from
Yeah.
Shah Rukh Khan, very early days. So if you remember that there was a one scene, John Abraham, Hrithik Roshan, Boom, whatsoever you see that, it's more like
I come from to India. Countries are very much focused on two specific issues. Either it's a data privacy side or it's around the ransomware. That it's going through from one parliamentary session to other parliamentary session.
and we don't have a policies. Cyber war is going to come. That we are the heaviest data owners in from in competition to any part of the world. We are not ready.
War going on, and the new recently started Israel and
Cyber cyber fraud victim just a couple of
okay.
days back. Hallucination or somebody is making a kala jadoo, black magic. Take that do rupe ka wo golgappa and then pani. Then while returning back,
Hello, hackers. Today I have a very special guest, Mr. Gaurav Ranade. He is currently the CTO of Netpoleon India, which is a part of Japanese group Mecania Incorporation. And I had a very candid discussion with Gaurav, ranging from cybersecurity landscape from last 30 years, talking about various geopolitics things around cybersecurity, various frauds which are happening around it, and from a freshers in a newbie perspective, how to approach your cybersecurity career, whether certificates are good for you. He shared his stories about his first certificate and the most important thing, who should pay for the certificate when you get one. So, a lot of interesting discussions coupled with his personal insights, his personal struggle and hard work when he started his journey. It is a very candid conversation, and I'm sure you're going to love it. So, without wasting much time, let's directly jump into the conversation with Mr. Gaurav Ranade. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Hello, fellow hackers, and welcome back to another episode of the Hacker Club, where we bring the inside mind of the most influential figures in cybersecurity. Today, I am your host, Nick, and we have a very special guest joining us, a true veteran in tech industry, Gaurav Ranade. With a career spanning over 27 years, yes, it's a very big number. Gaurav has not only shaped the cybersecurity landscape but also recognized with numerous awards, including the eminent CIO awards, which he recently received in 2024, and the Stellar CXO award, which is nothing very far, but it's in 2023. But before we dive into his impressive career and achievements, let's take a journey where it all began. So, hi Gaurav, welcome to the show. We are very thrilled to have you here today at the Hacker Club. Let's start from the very, very beginning. Can you tell us a bit about your childhood, where you grew up, and what first sparked your interest in the technology? Did you already always knew that you have to be in this domain?
yeah, thanks Nick for having me on this podcast. A pleasure and honor to be and to join with all of fellow hackers, whosoever is listening and watching this podcast. And this is a quite good initiative. I think while looking at the back in the childhood, the memories goes back in 90s, early 90s when I have to look myself for the whether the technology was in that bringing into my childhood and all those key areas where I had to focus in my studies and other factors. I think you have to give this credit to my parents on that part, with a very orthodox mindset when that the Kundali by one of a Pandit had given in, and that said that this boy is going to be a technology expert, and still it's written somewhere in that. So whether you believe it or not, but it was written, and I don't know whether how much it's truth, talks or certain statement people. But yes, it was there in my mind since beginning. Been into childhood, then traveled almost the northern part, majorly in India. That's born in Jammu, brought up at Pathankot, and then almost 22 years of my initial career, initial life, stayed there, spent there, and enjoyed that life, and gonna miss for rest of my life. Uh, yes, that effort was been made quite heavily on that side. That where you struggle for many things in those remote areas where the education was not proper, where the channels or proper resources were not available at that point in time. How you maintain yourself as a spirit that to reach out somewhere, and I think that the entire credibility, the credit has to go towards the parents and the siblings and family, whosoever has supported by that time. That's more from that. While you look at the few of the flying jets over your roofs every single morning, the Air Force Base station was very near to us. They were like, as the national highway was quite close to us, and many of the times we have seen that the foreigners were moving from here to there. It was a single national highway connected to Jammu. The mostly tourists were coming and going there from here and there, and then you see that their lifestyles were totally different. How you have to reach out to that lifestyle, and how you have to achieve that. The basic model of the education was not proper. How you have to maintain that, how you can reach out to those levels. I think somewhere that motivation comes from your ecosystem, your surroundings, that how you have to be there, and how these things can make you to motivate to reach out to that place. Yes, struggle was quite a lot. Been there with the work from a very small village. That's a border area in Punjab, and reach out to at this stage after 27 years of illustrious experience. I think made myself as a standout from that situation. But yes, technology was there always in my mind, not only from that horoscoping mode, but yes, technically, curiosity was quite in there. Studies, I was quite illustrious in achieving in a school, college, as well as on to the engineering college for that. But yes, uh, achieved that's a final satisfaction mode. Traveled quite a lot since single morning to evening from one city to another, and then to do something much better than others from that area. I think that gives a satisfaction, and that is only the motivation so far.
Thank you for sharing this. And I can just imagine like 27 years ago thinking about tech, it could be like a very far-fetched thing. And knowing that your Pandit has thought and gave you a guidance around this is really very nice. I'm sure like everybody would be
No,
going into that direction.
was quite coincidental. I wouldn't have taken into that consideration even. After the second day of my birth, what I have been told, it's not that I've been witness for that. Second day of my birth, that the paper has been and handed over to my family. So
Wow.
there are few witnesses, and this is what have been given. So, but I'm not a hardcore believer in that fact. It's always a karmas that what you do, what you bring it onto the table, where the path is taking on that part. I'm not saying that you should believe in all these things, but this is what has happened with me, and you can't make out as a fun for them that who had given a a on that part, and then it's like there's a witness out of it. So it's a reality. It's something which is coming in front of us altogether.
Definitely, yeah. So I'm like very curious now, Gaurav, like since you already from day two of your birth, you knew somehow that you have to get it to the
I was not aware of the census after 6 or 7 years of an age that the people are talking about that every single day being as a every single normal child. that you either believe yourself that you wanted to be one day be as a police officer, the other way,
Correct.
like other day you'll be as a doctor, the third day as a teacher, the fourth day as like as a vehicle wala or the hospital wala, like as a very specific. But yes, the struggle was there because from a middle class family, from the government a government job of a superintendent family, where my father was earning quite a hard, the big family, and the other siblings had to study in the similar way. But yes, it was even if I have to go to a college, that from my village to the college, that was almost 20 kilometers away. So then we to do
Yeah.
the cycling every day, single morning till evening. So returning back for that. So almost near about to 60 or 70 kilometers of a cycling per day. I have done it in that particular struggle period. So nowadays it's like as a you have to hit the gym and then to do the cycling and then to say that half an hour you have to do it. But we did it that point in time just only for the sake of the saving money, that just for the for you have to do the studies. And either it's any kind of a season by that time, either it's a rainy, it's a dry, it's a quite heat, and that area was quite warm in summer season, and it was quite heavy at that point in time because the seasons were rainy at any point in time, like as after every second day, that your immunity has to be strong in that part. So it's like that the struggle which you have faced in such a way that was totally different.
So yeah, thanks, Gaurav. I think
Yeah.
it's a very motivational thing, and I'm glad you said cycling. You didn't say swimming, because I keep hearing a lot of stories about going to school while swimming also. So, but it's a really motivational thing. I have a lot of questions, but I want to touch base on yours, on your college level also, because like when you started your career, like maybe 27, 28 years ago, I think that was the exact time when the IT boom started in India, right?
Yeah.
Everybody was focused on IT, like we had very normalization on the IT policies, and the focus of India shifted towards IT, right? So I'm sure that helped you in starting this journey apart from the predictions of the priest, the Pandit. But I want to understand, like from your college, since you already somehow knew that you have to start in your tech, does it affected the college you choose?
We were not a chooser by that time. That the facilities which were available in that area, we have to be adhere to. And then our plan was to settle back in Delhi by that time, right? But just because of due to the family constraints, we were not able to do so. So it means that you have to do the graduation, and then you have to do all such things where your career has to be taken into a big shape for this. Uh, but yes, you knew that what you were supposed to do. You know that at certain juncture of your life after in 10th or matriculation or a senior secondary, that you know that what you are supposed to do for that. But Almighty was quite uh, kind with me at that point in time, that whichever the way I just wanted to move on, and the ways have been pay for me. And it's just like as a hard work, that it's a way that how you have to explore your different sites and the different areas where you have to move into. Uh, 97, I think that the age was 17 or 18 at that point in time, when I decided myself that the IT is the one thing which is going to be a big boom by that time, and everybody was moving into it, and how you can excel yourself. So along with the college, when I studied computers, which gives me that particular curiosity. I'll give the credit to entire to my family. The resources were not proper. The financials were not appropriate by that time, but the way that the family have supported me, that the way they have given me a chance that you should look for your career opportunity in that. Because let's be very honest, that by that time, even the society was also in a one single concern, that you are not going to get your government jobs, that you have to look for some private concerns for this, right? And at that point in time, that nobody should be the entire family and the siblings and the cousins, everybody was into the government jobs, and I'm the only one who is into this particular sector. So right, so at that point in time, even in that era, that everybody was thinking of that if somebody is not in the government job, I think that person is either lacking on his skills, or might be that that person is not up to the mark. But thankfully, the family has supported me, and then at least now those cousins, siblings, and the family, the relatives, they all give a extra respect on that part that he's the only one who got that. But yes, my cousins are also into a very good positions in the different positions at a very high level of a positions as well. But yes, uh, that point in time, you think that there are a lot of confusion in your mind. At that point in time, you think that somebody should be there to let you understand. But I think, on the contrary, I would say that if you have some courage, uh, to be a self belief that yes, what I'm doing, what I'm going to do, it is much better for me, and I have to give 100%. I'm not to let down my family, and this is what I'm just going to achieve it. Many of the times nowadays, what I found in Gen Zs, that they always complain to the parents, and then the gatherings they're around, that we don't have any support, or they either go to the Insta so-called reels, the motivation speakers, that they always say that do this, do that. But I think there's a self-belief that till the time you don't
Correct.
have a self-belief or the confidence within yourself, within your abilities, you won't be able to do anything in your life. So my suggestion would be that what my experience from in very early age, nobody was there to support. Nobody was there in IT industry, neither from my family nor from my relatives. It just only you have to jump in. You have to do that particular swimming by if you have been jumped into a river, you have to make your hands and legs, to make it like as that to cross that channel. But
Oh,
yes, there is a hard work. There is somewhere you have to devote somewhere something. It's like a no pain, no gains without pains. So in that capacity, if you think that you are ready to devote your time, your pains, and that result is definitely going to come for you sooner or later. But I think you must have a patience and perseverance for taking that the heights are waiting for you. But it totally depends that the way you put in your efforts in that part. But hard work always pays back.
like it's always fascinating to hear about like the early sparks that led to your career in tech and how you would have thought in that aspect where nobody around you is in IT and then pursuing your career inside a domain where nobody is there. I'm sure like it would have its own challenges. I understand that you also
Yeah,
pursued your bachelor's in IT from Mahi Academy and also like you also completed your master's in applications, computer applications from Sikkim Manipal. So, like, how do you think your educational journey shaped your career, Gaurav? Like, I know that you already had an idea that you will be starting into IT, and with all these challenges around you, from the neighbors, from the cousins around you, who are not part of this domain, still you pursued your masters and bachelors into computers, into IT. So, what were you thinking when you were going through this, your graduation and post graduation? Did you had specific areas in mind that you will be starting your journey here? Were you clear, or you were still like exploring and learning that this is the place where I have to start my career in?
quite elaborative question. I think I'll segregate into three different modes. The one, whether my qualifications were directed towards a career goal, definitely not. It just only because when I entered in computers, I was not aware of that which are the different fields this computer field or the industry is going to have it. I was totally clueless by that time. As I mentioned, that nobody was there from this domain in my family, relatives, and nobody was there to support. And be honest, in Indian family, in relations culture, it was very difficult to get that particular support by that time as well. But yes, I jumped into that. I looked into it that there was a 3 years advanced diploma in software engineering from one of a premier institute by that time in 1997. There was a one Manipal Academy of Higher Education which was offering the bachelor's program for the 3 years. So along with my another graduation degree, I was just jumped into this Manipal Academy of Higher Education, and I said I thought about myself that one is an advanced diploma in software engineering, so I'm entering into the software engineering domain. So everybody was asking about the software engineers is a good pay field where everybody's moving into. But when I entered, within a period of 3 months, I got to know that The people who were, with all due respect to the teachers by that time, are still in touch with those people, uh, that they were not experienced enough on those particular programs by that time. So what I felt that even those the senior resources had to have the intensive understanding about the programs. So there was an opportunity which I take it up. I knew by that time that it's more like I was quite introvert. By I'm a shy nature in my childhood, that up to 17 or 18 year of my age, and even my family won't believe that this is the same Gaurav who was a totally shy introvert by that time in childhood, and now he can speak, he can talk, he can interact with so many people at a single time, right? So at that point in time, I got an opportunity, and my center manager at the university contact center manager, he contacted me. He said that we got to know that you are sharing information which even your teachers won't have it. I didn't have that thing. It was just only the books, but the mode of learning was totally different. I borrow the books, and with a proper sense, I can say this. I borrow the books. I from the different authors, the same topic from the different authors, relatively taken in the understanding, and made my own concept of that technology. And then I explain it to the people, which was a totally different concept in that area. It was a small town, Pathankot.
Correct.
Um, at almost 27 years ago, people liked it. And within 3 months itself, I have been offered as a job. That was
Wow.
my first interaction, the first job within my degree, within my diploma, within my computer school. Then I realized that you have something different. You have something different from the rest of the people. So there were like as a 50 different odd people. They were the one day before they were my classmates, and one day later they all were my students.
Wow.
And then it's a hardly like as a 3 months of my education in computers. What I got it, Windows 95 or Windows NT 4.0, I got to know they're much better than the others. It's just only that the devotion, that self-belief that you can do much better, and you have to figure it out that what is your USP, because you have to sell yourself. You have to make
Definitely.
it on yourself that what you are going to make it for that. So that becomes like as the highlight in that town itself. I still remember that the people are in touch with me still from there, and they always put in remarks over my Facebook post. Whenever I used to get rewards or awards or the different sessions, they always give me the texting over the WhatsApp itself. But credit always goes to those people. I'm not denying that, because they don't know, they didn't aware of those things, because even resources were not available by that time. It totally depends how much you are devoting and dedicating yourself on that area. That makes it a difference. This is what you have to do it. It's my only advice to the youngsters, that do it something different. Everybody is, if going into a rat race, is not going to achieve something unique out of this world. You have to think out of the box. You have to think different from others. If you are going to be the follower, nobody is going to listen to you. If you are doing something unique. um, let's assume that I could have people many of the times have said that Fortune 500 companies, you would have joined it, you have taken that. But the way that the more you enjoy the companies who are in a smaller, and then you make it like the growth up to a certain level, that the enjoyment is a totally different from that perspective, isn't it? The rat race, you should not run it. You should look at from a different USP out of it. So this is what I did in my initial career, and what I found, that's something unique, something different, and this made myself success. And I think I was first few Sun certified Java professional and developers in early those days. And from there, I entered into software industry. For almost next 4 to 5 years, I was into software, and I was totally clueless what I'm going to do in in other fields. So then God helped me, because I never said no to any work. It could be a debatable answer, because nowadays that everybody
Correct.
want to have a skills in that. So it's like as operating systems and softwares, the programming languages, VC++, VB, Visual Basic by that time, expertise in that, 8 different operating systems. And then I moved into networking, MCSA, MCSC, MCSA messaging, Exchange server, Windows server, networking, DNS. All these things are the jargons I first time ever heard of, certified in it, and then moving next word. Then Cisco up to CCNA, CCNP, and CCIE. Then it's a path, it's a journey you have to start it on that. Then moved in into my cybersecurity field in 2003 itself. Then from there
Yeah.
itself, that you software, networking, cybersecurity, then forensics, and then biometrics. So I completely looking into that perspective of my entire career in a span of that. So today you ask me about the software. Yes, I do have experience because we made projects. We did that. You asked me about the networking. We did that. And the entire state of Telangana, BharatNet, T-Fiber project undergone as an operation from my side. 12,000 gram panchayats. I don't think that anywhere in India so far the GPON planning has done so. That's done by me for this. The RFPs, the Delhi Safe City, the architecture. Publicly, I'm just saying it because that architecture is mine, and with the authorities, we did that. And there are all the records are available. Certain RFPs, which I can't take a name because that still are going on, but that's a design by me. So when you look at it that perspective, that it's like that you devote yourself into technology, you look at the different paradigms and the way the things need to work out, it'll be totally different.
Yep, a lot of interesting aspect you have shared. I'm just juggling between where to pinch. But first, I would like to ask, like you mentioned about the first few who did this Java certifications, right? Some Java certifications. So I want to understand, and also
Yeah.
other certificates into networking and further down there. There is a very big debate right now going, and a lot of freshers are also in confusion whether they should go for the certificates or not. So when you started your career and you said that you were one of the few who did this initial certificate, what was your thought? Like, was it did it give you better opportunities, or you did it because of gaining the knowledge? What was your thought, and how did it help you after getting that certificate?
People can debate on that whether certifications are required or not, but I'll always say that it always gives a recognition, not for others, but at least sensibility for yourself, achievement, sense of achievement, something. Yes, there are different ways. With or without disclaimer, I can say that the people have accessed certain certifications by different modes. Uh, but yes, this is a reality, and everybody knows about it, and it's in a public domain that how people have accessed those certifications. But when you achieve some certification, it's the first and foremost is a knowledge, your experience. If you think that the knowledge and experience is quite enough for you, then I don't think that the certification is required. But if the sense of achievement you want and industry recognize it, that recognition will always come with the certification. So the youngsters, firstly, look for the knowledge and experience of that technology with that area, and then they can choose for the certification path. If organizations sponsor them and they want to make it, it's a beneficial. It always gives a career boost and to make a jump in their whatsoever with the salary packages they wanted to have it onto the on the fair side for that. So at least that certification is always required. That's my personal suggestion for that. When the next part of the question you asked, that what was in my mind by that
Yeah,
time, a certain certified Java professional was achieved, and till now, like as a last certification which I have achieved as a CISM from the
yeah.
CISA as well as a CISM. Now, when you look at it from that scenario, at that age, I was never been involved into that the race for that, whether I have to do this certification or that. But yes, as the career progress, when you see that the competition, your peers are getting accessing certain certifications and getting recognized by the people or the organization and the community, then it gives a competition. It's a fair competition that whether you can do that or not. It's more like there's a certain sense of satisfaction for yourself. Uh, but yes, by the time you evolve into your career, it gives automatically in your brain, blood.
And like, who paid for your certificates back then? Was it coming out of your pocket, or was it of your company's pocket?
I was quite fortunate since 97 up to the last certification. Well, like last year itself, the companies had paid. While I was an entrepreneur for my own companies, Even at that point in time, I took it from the company's expenses. But
Correct.
yes, you are giving for the organization. You are,
That's
because your
right.
credentials are going to be recognized for any of an organization, and this is what the organization acknowledge on that part itself. And many of the times you are giving back to the organization because your credentials have been accessed for various purposes while submission of an RFP with the certain compliances, with the security scenarios.
Correct.
Many of the times it's just only to get an award of a project. So those certifications are required for that. It's a value. It's a value of the certification.
Of course, yeah, I agree. And I think just to add into this point, I like a lot of the students and freshers come to me with one question about the certificate, do it or not. I always tell them that like they already have completed their education, and education now in India is not cheaper. It's not like you get a cheap
No,
education.
no,
And if you are still paying
no.
additionally in order to prove that you have this information or not, I always say that focus on the skill sets. If you have a right skill, you will definitely get a good role. And then with that good role, all the companies, I have not seen any company, be it a small or a large company, everybody has a L&D program in their company where they are happy to help you to get certified,
Yes,
to shape your path in a way where they will support you to get any certificate. Focus more on getting the skills, getting starting their journey, and then focus on the certificate. That has been my advice. But again, like it's again is a debatable thing. It's a chicken egg situation. Few folks believe that until they get a certificate, they'll not get a job.
no. I would add few points here
Yeah,
that it totally depends on to the organization's L&D policy, but also from the CTO, CIO, and CISO's responsibility as well. Uh,
definitely.
as per their programs, the technical team's capability, I initiated a one program right in my previous organization where every quarter at least a single certification had to be achieved by a technical person.
Wow.
And it's an industry certification. It's not a product specification. And the company was supposed to sponsor that. And we did that successfully that. And believe me, my teammates, the ex-teammates, would acknowledge and would definitely revert on this podcast video once you publish over YouTube. Whosoever have been reimbursed on their certification tracks, enormous certification tracks, and believe me, the management was quite supportive, and they liked this idea, and this actually worked for them, and the organization gets recognized in the community as well as in the industry that the best of the technical resources with the certified and skilled resources are available with that organization. So it actually creates the value of an organization. Manpower or resources have been handled in that organization matters a lot. Finally, we are talking about technology. We are talking about the cybersecurity. The cybersecurity without any certification makes matters quite worse without those the credentials. At that point in time, you must have to have that understanding how these the different dashboards are working. It's not a product centric industry; it's a solution centric industry. If you talk about the cybersecurity, because every control has to talk to each other and then to make sure that everything goes well. So, in my preview, the organization should learn from the peers itself and then
Correct.
to take very corrective measures where they have to take it how the certifications or skills upgradation for the technical resources should be leveraged at par, and it's a continuous monitoring and evaluation for every resource has to happen.
Useful for them actually because resources have put a lot of time and efforts around, so it is definitely important. I have questions around around the same thing, Gaurav. Like when you have done these certificates, when you started your journey, right, in cybersecurity especially, during that time, did you got this request of hacking someone's Facebook ID or maybe a Gmail ID?
Let me give you headbacks for that. In 2003, my first cybersecurity concept was honeypot. And yes, I'll not take the name of, but I'll say that by providing that the very first day that when this lecture was for me for the honeypot, where you have to enter and you have to take it in a capacity where you have to deliver that, and then you have to understand firstly what is a honeypot. So by that time, the separate questions came in front of me, that how you have to address that different ways. I don't want to even make that. But yes, my initial career in a cybersecurity, when I was just delivering for Indian Army. So whether it's a DDG MS branch with the NISO Military Information Systems Organizations, Pune Military Engineering College. So the many of military Indian Army veterans, uh, they have asked me that how to access. By that time, Yahoo and Rediff
Yeah.
mails were quite famous by that time. So how to access anyone else email access, and then how we can get the passwords if I have to take it. So I was quite surprised because when the defense personals were asking these questions, it made me slightly worry. But yes, I still remember. I'll take the name that Colonel Gopi Krishna was in MS branch by that time, and he was my one of my student at that. And I'm proud to say that because a person who knows much better than me was my student, and then you learned a lot from at that point in time. So I think all the concepts of the hacking, we have done that right together, all the labs, and what we have to do, what we have done. And there was another person called Lieutenant Colonel S.K. Ratan by that time. He was also a veteran in Operation Vijay in Kargil, who was a chopper pilot. Had a very personal relationships post that, family relationships with him. So we did that many of the time. He still had that understanding, and then many of the times say that iska hack karna hai, uska hack karna hai, how to access that. So there are few of the things that it's on a funny side, but yes, it's always on that curiosity, that what are the mechanisms, how we can do that. And it's a more from many of the times we used to call it as the hacking in a ethical mode, and then to understand which are the different ways where we can accept it, that to mitigate those access points. We did that many of the times. We just try to restrict it, because the requests used to come from every side, that do that, do others way. Many of the times, Mary, I have the Insta of my girlfriend. How can I access that? The
Correct.
password, the Gmail, right? So this mail had gone. Now this is the email ID of that person. Might have received that mail. Can we get into that particular mailbox and then delete that? And all such requests always used to come, and many of the times we have to avoid it.
Yeah, yeah. Girlfriend hacking accounts, and these are very pretty much a generic use cases which has been stuck with all the ethical hackers since they started their journey. Every
True,
DMs
true,
are filled
true.
with this use case. Yeah. So I want to touch base, I want to take some fun questions before we move again back to our serious ones. So back then, like when I started my cybersecurity journey, I was mostly influenced and I was very active watching this shows and movies like Ocean 11, Die Hard, which sort of gave me an idea that yeah, there is a cybersecurity and what can cybersecurity lead to, like an attack. Of course, these are over exaggerated in the movies, but still it gets you excited, it gives you some idea around it, right? So did you watch any cybersecurity movies or shows related to security, and do you have any recommendation for anyone that okay, this is
I
something which
think
is almost to reality and please go and watch for it, or something which helped you?
no. I think Nick, it's be very prudent that in Bollywood, Hollywood, or any Tollywood movies, right? Whatsoever they are showing, that it's just only on the name of a hacking or accessing those big glasses, touch screens, just coming out of the glass, something is coming out of it, and then some server, some black hat guy sitting somewhere, five different screens. It's nothing like it. You know it very just to make that make people slightly concerned about that how different computers or different people are talking about it. That like as a some kind of go down kind of a scenario where a one person, a long table with a shadow out of it. And I don't think that it's very much near to the close to the reality. I was just working in many of an organizations, specifically in the Homeland Security departments, have seen those the scenarios from the hackers' perspective, from the anti-hacking, and even the mitigation mechanisms from all the scenarios. It's nowhere close to the reality. If you look at the 91 or 92 or that Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman movie from
Yeah.
Shah Rukh Khan, very early days. So if you remember that there was a one scene that the clerk that he was talking to his senior, and then senior was telling that that the building was can be constructed into this particular calculation, and the clerical person who was just doing that calculation, it was just only the start of that computer, and it was just running into a safe mode, and then he pressed some key button. Let's say that he is right, and still the screen is on that mode.
On the
uh,
safe board.
it looks like yeah. So it looks like very funny that either you must have a calculators or some applications that people are not aware of. Nowadays, it's a quite tricky that they used to like as that what's happening in WhatsApp or the chat, that it gives like as a certain texting over it, and then Hollywood movies are close to the reality when it comes onto the certain Star Wars with the how that the different transmissions are happening across to two different modes. But yes, if the journey, if you have to look at that from 90 up to this, Bollywood is still making fun of this combination. Ra one was another from Shah Rukh Khan. I'm not denying that the Shah Rukh Khan is not a good actor, but yes, there's a majority of those particular scenes. John Abraham, Hrithik Roshan, Dhoom, whatsoever you see that, it's more like looks like a quite funny out of it, but it's not close to the reality. Hacking is separate, totally different. Mechanisms are totally different. Law enforcement agencies works in a totally different tandem. Mechanisms are different. What we are talking, if we are thinking that it's only between two of us, it's nothing like it. There is a third mechanism. Any keyword spotting system can check it out that what's happening between these two modes. If people are thinking of that every single communication is secure between two different channels, sorry, you have to relook at the books and the mechanism of the technology itself.
Definitely, yeah. So in short, like Bollywood hackers are nowhere in real to the real hackers.
They are copy. They are the copiers.
Definitely,
They are the
definitely.
copiers. Yeah.
So, Gaurav, like going back to like the cyberspace now, like a very impressive journey, and I think you shared the right insights about the certificates, about your journey, and like what your observations are, both at a private and also at a government level, like what things are. Like now you see, like you have seen the cyberspace evolve for like almost like 3 decades, I can say, right? Like almost when you started the IT industry and cyber industry, you have seen how cybersecurity has evolved in India specifically, right? And you also have a pretty good idea about what is happening in global, right, with the new laws which are coming in, compliance laws and all, right? So what do you think, like where are we from an India perspective? Like how is it still considered as a priority, cybersecurity? Do you still see, is it still like, as we say in cybersecurity, it's in a backseat, right? It's when if it's a product startup or any startup, cybersecurity is often a backseat. We see that okay, it is no more that case. It's not a business risk. We see these awareness and all these things, especially in October when we are recording this. It's a cybersecurity awareness month. Every board meeting and everyone will be talking about cybersecurity. But like, what's your observations about cybersecurity landscape in India? How serious do you see is cybersecurity taken right now in India, both private and government? And is it comparable to the international standards when we see at West or maybe East? Do you see we are at par in the tech perspective or in awareness perspective?
Yeah. So quite imperative, and I would say that a good question. In a quite length, I think we should spend the 5 to 7
Yeah.
minutes on it. Uh, see, in a length, if I have to start from a beginning out of it, nobody took cybersecurity very seriously up to 2010, 11, or 12 by that time. So decade ago, if you talk about cybersecurity, nobody gave any kind of think or any approach on that mind. Things started rolling out when the infrastructure and the data is getting a scalable on a day-to-day basis. At that point in time, everybody had that data, and nobody was aware of that what to do with that data. Right now, data is so critical that many of our organizations are have been penalized only not to control their data, that what exactly the usability of data is. And data is so crucial nowadays that everybody is running after that to secure that data. So data security is a buzzword when people at
Correct.
that point in time was just only collecting the. We, as in India, I think living in two different portions. One, which still doesn't have the basic idea of the infrastructure. The other, it's a very advanced, very niche India, which is talking about the Gen the AI, the amalgamation of the IT, OT, and IoTs, and then the different security mechanisms for that. I have seen that even many of the organizations are not aware of the basic formation or the architectural basic practices. They are the best practices, how they have to design it. And there is another India which is talking very high standards that how to maintain that. Even they have crossed that limit. And then now they are talking about that we have to work on the generative AI based solutions. The India which is talking about the very high standards of technology.
I
Situation.
come from to India.
Yeah, we come from to India. So it's like the famous line which has been said. I don't know what is going to be after this podcast to be released, but this is the reality. This is a harsh reality you have to understand. And as vocal you should be for such things. It's like as you rightly said that in October it's a cyber awareness program. So I think by spreading this kind of an information as much as you have to reach out to the people who still think that they are the best in technology, they should relook at their infrastructure and then to see where are the gaps. If the gaps have not been identified, then I don't think that the people like us would have the better scope for to give all these particular gyms on the different podcasts and then to say that this is the best security, we are secure enough. Why after every 11 second there is a data breach happening all across? It means there are still certain gaps. There is a human factor which comes into either the skill gaps have not been identified or the technology gaps have not been identified. And many of the organizations, if you go back and then to ask that what is the security cyber security mechanisms you have it, they always say that we have a firewall and firewall is good enough. India is still into a reactive mode. What is the situation?
Correct.
The third portion of your question, well, what is the current situation? See, a couple of years back when there was a premier health institute got attacked, then the government of India reacted. And then now that everybody is looking after that your cybersecurity mechanisms, the cybersecurity policies, the cybersecurity architectures, that the best practices had to be deployed. What
Correct.
happens to the private sector? Everybody was only concerned about the CIOs, CTOs, and CISOs. They were running after the CFOs because the financial authority was only with the CFOs. I'm not against
Correct.
the CFOs, but actually the approving authority to procure any product, that should control should be given it to at some level at the CIO or the CTO level. That's my recommendation, at least for that budgetary revenue, at least for the budget has to be given it to a certain section of the security division where they should be responsible. If you are penalizing CISO for any data breach, it means that the data breach has happened due to the lack of a certain resources. Then why not to penalize CFO in that the same segment? One way to address that
Correct.
issue. Now everybody is running after the compliances. You talk about the
Correct.
DPDP Act, you talk about your ISO 27, then you talk about the NIST frameworks, then you talk about SANS, then you talk about the GDPRs. So what are these standards? They always are to the documentation. Do you have all these 93 controls? Have documented your controls well in place. What they wanted, you must have a defense in depth of a firewalls. You must
Correct.
have a different layers of the security mechanisms. Now, if you have done this on an architecture basis, you need not to have these particular compliances in place. Now, the governing authorities had to come together and then to frame all these particular rule books and then to say to adhere these compliances. It means are not adhering these rules by
Correct.
either at the level of a technology officials or by your financial officials. Whether you are addressing all these things to the board of directors, no, it wasn't. Either you are playing with that security, the infrastructure or the data centers resources, or you want to place it very safe. That I'm saving your money, but save many years. Now, actually, with the reputation, with the fame, the name, and the sake for those stocks for that company is going to be lose. That's 250 CR of for a DPDP Act. For heaven's sake, how it's going to be safe? Organizations, when they look at the current situation in India, they are into a big fuss where they have to go. The certifications is the one part, the deployments is another one, integration is another one, best architecture has to be deployed. Now there are many frameworks which they have to adhere at one single way. So it's a very single thing. If you have a best of the resources within your organization, can give you best of an advice, please prepare those architectures as per the best practices. Whatever is available, go as per adherence to those compliances, and then secure your nest. So the situation
Yeah.
in India is growing nowadays from the security perspective, but still I'll say it's a reactive. So when all these attacks had happened recently, there was a private sector. Why they have taken for the staging server? Now recently I was just there with one of a panel discussion. So staging server, why they wanted to have it after CrowdStrike's attack?
Correct.
Because any upgraded machine without any of a mechanism, it entered into those machines, and then and clients, and then it got updated without any testing of those particular uh, uh, software. Now staging server requirement is coming into the picture. Now we are reactive. Now tomorrow something will happen towards a vulnerability assessment for the certain DDoS anomaly detection. So the industry will move into that way itself. So
Correct.
it's a reactive industry. It's still reactive.
Thanks, Gaurav. Yeah, I think, and I agree to most of the points you have shared. I want to ask one more question. Like, I'm very always curious, and it's not a part of me bashing India or something. I'm very like concerned about the future of India when it comes to cybersecurity. That's why, like, with these small initiatives, I want to spread the awareness as well. My concern is that when we look at West or let's say East also, countries are very much focused on two specific issues. Either it's a data privacy side or it's around the ransomware. So these are the two major areas, focus areas when it comes to cyber security, the two major threats where companies are spending money or their time in, right? When I come back and see it in India, there is no such focus around both of these things. Like you see PDPA Act, which like it's been like going on, right? I don't know when it is coming live. I just see that it's going through from one parliamentary session to other parliamentary session. It is pending this signature, that signature. Whereas there are
Yeah,
so many countries who have actually passed it and made it a law by default. It's been countries who have been
yeah,
proactive, who
yeah,
didn't have any even a draft. So I'm very much surprised by the speed with which India works, especially the Indian government around this area, and also the private sectors. I'm not like, of course, there are good sectors who are very much focused on security, but then I have seen private players also in India who are not that proactive when it comes to cybersecurity. These are even not in the thought. Like the leaders are even not thinking about these aspects. And you have seen recently the breaches which happened, right? The Star Health Insurance, UIDA, like the Aadhaar database which got breached, right? It's a very huge thing. If you see that breaches all over the history of the breaches, you see that big bubble of Aadhaar card always there in the history that it has been breached. So these breaches does not lead to any kind of next actions, like not even penalty because it is not defined in a law, right? 80 Act, which is the currently ongoing thing, which has been like a decade, like not decade, 2006. It's like it's ages now, right? So do you
yeah.
think what do you think about this thing, this discrepancy? How much concerned are you? Or is it right way to be concerned about this, or do you think like India is focused on something else, or it is as they say, it is not the target of the attackers right now?
No, Nick, it's very evident that we are not pushing things in a right way. Uh, yes, government has decided something to do, but I think it's quite delayed. Uh, but yes, it also had to look the pros and the cons for every aspect what they are going to push it in the entire country. India is not a small country.
Yeah.
Uh, there'll be certain advantages as well as certain disadvantages for many things, and without any use cases which have been discussed appropriately, it could be a reversible reaction which we are not prone to looking at that. We are not foresightling that might be it could be adverse to the society and the community as well. Let's assume that it's a make in India aspect. It's a very small example if we'll say that, due to which any of a data breach happens. Do you think that the 250 crores of a penalty that Make in India OEM would be able to ever to compensate that? No, right? I think let's be very realistic in that part. I think when we say that nowadays, that for every single product in any data center, if you have to place it, starting with your servers from the compute to the virtualization, with the DDoS, with the NT APTs, with your DNS, with your directories, with your orchestration layer, everything is getting to be a make in India for that. Is there any mechanism that we have to look at the performance of all these make in India products, all these products on that the peak load factors which are going to be, because there are many of complaints which have been received for that. Now, um, I think we are sitting on a volcano when we say that we are securing our infrastructure. When we are saying that every mechanism is well in place with the compliances, with certain penalties, certain rules which are governed by the authorities, are going to be appropriately placed in to make it as a secure. I think that that's more like us that we are living in a fool's paradise there, right?
Correct.
Then our mechanism is only look at that this directly straight way, in a way where we found ourselves that this is what we wanted to, and this is what we is going to be happen. No, the things which are happening, you never know what's going to be happening day after. We are not aware of that what kind of an attacks are happening daily to certain critical infrastructure. Yesterday I had written an article over the
Hmm.
LinkedIn itself for the critical infrastructure areas. There are
Correct.
almost 300 plus infrastructure critical infrastructure areas have been identified as a very critical and prone towards attacks, and we don't have a policies. We don't have a policy to
Correct.
secure enough for them. And this is an alarming situation. So when you look at it that per se, that the mechanisms, when we say that this is good, this is bad, this is ugliest, this is worst, and this is going to be the best for all of us, no. I think proactively we have to think, we have to look at the future, and the cyber war is going to come. That already we are in cyber war, right? We are either we are the players, or we are the victims. We have to decide it which way we have to go, and then we I in every aspect that every country is going to attack us on that part, because we are the heaviest data owners in from in competition to any part of the world, if you talk about it. So
Correct.
we know that who are the attackers. I don't want to take the name because this is a public domain, right? And in a
Correct.
public domain we know that even many of the government websites have been hacked, and the government is not releasing that data appropriately, and we are not
Correct.
aware of, even we are not aware of.
True.
And I won't take those particular names, even in a hindsight that everything is happening, we are aware of, and but we can't take the name for that,
Correct.
right? But this is a situation of our infrastructure. This is we are not ready. I still say that many of the time people say that India is shining, India is working very closely with the global players, but I think that the day by day the new technology advent is coming to give us some more
True.
challenges that how you have to address all these issues. We are not there to address even the basics one as of now.
And that is concerning. So I have an observations here, Gaurav. Again, like India is quite advanced as well. It's not that India is lacking everywhere. As we say, India shines and India is the next big player. The reason is because they are doing something when it comes to digitization, modernization of the digital infrastructure. India is like, of course, like they are overpowering anyone. Like with the India stack coming into the picture, with the digital payments, you see, like India is definitely taking a leapfrogging in that aspect as well. But my concern is when you are being so techy, you should understand that the more digitally you are going and inclining, there is a more risk about the cyber attacks and the things. And we have
Yes,
been seeing this,
yes,
like it's not something which is like more on a in kind of research paper, something with the Russia-Ukraine war going on and the new recently started Israel and Hamas war and all these things where the pages getting attacked and the drone attacks which are happening. All these kind of things are like live examples. Nothing is something which is like a theoretical thing or something which everybody is just talking about. We are seeing it live, and yet, and my like it also don't mistaken like when you look at some regulatory bodies in India like SEBI and other RBIs, they are very proactive in launching new rules for the banking sector or maybe
Initiatives.
for the
Yeah.
finance sector. Every month there are some new directives, new guidelines coming in a banking sector, in a fintech sector, because that's where the money is coming in. But when it comes to IT sector, oh man, this like it's been 4 years. I'm just hearing about the privacy law and this and that. So
Let
it is
me
not about like that government can lag. It's about the focus areas. About what I feel.
for that. Rightly, you said that authorities are giving all these things in writing, but who are validating it? Whether somebody had applied it or not, whether somebody has taken very seriously on these considerations or not. I think mechanism has to now for the checklist now. Uh, let's not get into that. That what India is doing for it. I met a one very close friend of mine. He's into IT. He's into sales. I told him that I'm going to take his name. Um, he stopped me to take his name, but he was a cyber fraud victim just a couple of
Okay.
days back, and just solely for the 32,000 rupees of a scam with him. He is a very quite prominent while selling the cyber security solutions, but he was a victim of it, right? 8,000 rupees transactions 4 times done from his credit card. But just luring him for a 15 rupees of a transaction, he has to do it on the name of one of electricity power provider, electricity distribution provider company back in Delhi, right? Uh, Such incidents are day by day increasing. Now, the human factor, the cyber awareness, that the cyber security is a seller person who is selling day by day and night. If he can be a part of such uh, such frauds, and then he has been victim on that part, what we are anticipating from the people who are totally out of that scope, though we all have smartphones, we all are connected by the technology, but people are not so aware of all these infrastructures. It's a very validated that the people are communicating with the proper modes, with the channels, and they're making frauds, but we are not unable to capture them. Digital arrests are happening. So
Yeah.
accept that fact. We are not we don't have any iron dome across within our boundaries for the cybersecurity. 10% of the frauds will happen it. That's a debatable part for that. But still, it's on a regular basis for every single nowadays, even on a YouTube, you'll see that the thousand and the hundreds of the podcast videos, the how the hacking has happened, the different use cases, how the digital arrest has happened. People are listening to it, but they are not implying it. Let me very honest. A year ago, exactly at the time of a before Diwali, I also got a call similar way as a FedEx parcel, Taiwan. I told my wife immediately post that call I received it, and I immediately disconnected it. But by that time, the digital arrest was not at all in that mindset
Correct.
at any time. But when you relate yourself that you never sent a courier as a personally by my
Correct.
Aadhaar card, it cannot go because it was always be with my opposition. And
Correct.
if somebody is faking out of it, then you have to realize that you have to go to the police station and then to report it immediately. Now, if something happens, but now it's like it's a hallucination or somebody is making a kala jadoo, black magic on you and do all these things. It's like as that वो एक हिंदी में कहावत भी है, मेहमान मौत मेहमान और ग्राहक कभी भी आ सकता है. So
Correct.
your digital arrest can come to any of time to anyone.
Definitely. And I think the pace with which India has grown digitally, that is, I think,
Yeah,
one of the factor which is like India grown digitally, but the awareness about these in frauds which happens digitally, that awareness has not grown at that same pace. And that's why like the tier two, tier three cities, even tier one,
true.
like as you mentioned, rightly mentioned, like the most aware people are also victimized, and there's nothing to be shamed of. Like I don't think so victim shaming is a thing here. Anybody can be actually be victim of these attacks because of the new things which are coming into the cyberspace. It is becoming more and more difficult to actually get hold of these frauds which are coming. So, like moving to the next part, like Gaurav,
That's true.
we cybersecurity has moved from like when you started from network side now to applications, and we are moving towards the age of AI and machine learning now. That's like something which is anticipated, most
Yeah,
anticipated, and the next decade would be focused on that. And cybersecurity, like any other domain,
yeah,
will not be left behind when it comes to AI ML as well, right? What are your
right.
observations? What do you predict about these domain? Do you see it as a real thing, or do you think it would be just a hype thing?
No, you need to understand that it started way back in 7 or 8 years ago. When everybody had that data, nobody knows that what to do with that data. Now, AI is definitely going to let you know what to do with that data, right? And without any human intervention or a human factor to be involved, I think AI is going to play an important role for that. Now, when you look at it from that perspective of a different use cases, so take it as into a civic bodies with the revenue data, that how they have to play with it, the homeland security, that the cross border travel and tourism perspective. So AI has its own uses as one of discussions are happening, and then in Thailand, I had that a panel discussion with one of our premier technocrat at that point in time. So AI can be utilized as an offensive as well. Now, it totally depends on to it that how this AI has to amalgamate it into your use cases and then not to misuse on an offensive side for that. It purely depends on to our, it's a responsibility of all of us that you have to leverage on the technology on the proper use cases and then to take it for the good for the society for that. But nevertheless, we are into that era where everybody is in a position where the things have to be placed well for AI, and AI itself into the Gen AI, and then now we are looking into the next paradigm shift of the another way around of the other way around for the next use cases on that side. Uh, but by looking at large, the future is for the AI without a doubt. The data has to amalgamate it into it, but data in which form it will come in the future for this, have to see that, because now the invent of the GPUs and AI as a service which will come into the next level, because AI as just only a product, and then AI with respect to as a service in that criteria, it's going to make a big impact. Either it's into a healthcare or medicine, the different scenarios, how these things will be addressed appropriately. That will make a big move for it.
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks, Gaurav. So we are almost end of the podcast. I don't know like how fast the time passed. I mean, was enjoying this conversation. I have two quick questions for you, like around cybersecurity. One, what do you think is the most underrated cybersecurity skill which a professional should have in cybersecurity? What are your thoughts about it? And second, like if you have to restart your cybersecurity career, like let's say and now, like you already have spent quite enough time, you don't have to restart or anything. But let's say if you are back in when you completed your graduations, and you are starting your career in cybersecurity, what is one piece of advice which you would give yourself? Like what would be something differently you would be doing in order to start your career in cybersecurity, which you would have done? What could differently you would have done? That's something which I would like you can, if you can share with the listeners.
I think when you say that, there are three other again questions at the parts of this question.
I always
So
ask
one is on
multiple.
so it's a quite tough task to remember all the three points at one time, but let me try it. See, the underrated the skill set that every cybersecurity engineer. So at that point in time, when we decided something to get involved ourselves in cybersecurity, what we realized that at least you must have to have understanding of one operating system at a very deep dive, and the other concept of a networking. So once you have that operating system and networking at a one way, that the cybersecurity will definitely let you get easily access in that. Nowadays, it's a totally different, because many of the times the professionals always felt very proud, and then to say that we started our career directly in cybersecurity.
Correct.
I don't believe in it, right? I don't believe in it. That's my personal prerogative, but I'll take it that you must have to have that operating system and your
Correct.
one of your networking skills at least. And in that capacity, if you do certified in a earlier it was like as a Cisco, so everybody wanted to do a CCNA, CCNP, and then any of a Microsoft certifications. But if you do it by nowadays, all these things, either with the either Uniper is another product where you can see understand the networking scenarios, or you do it with the any of an operating system certifications. I think that will actually help you in your cybersecurity careers in bigger scale. Second part of your question was that if I have to go back and then to restart my cybersecurity career, so how exactly that will, which what thing I would like to have it, right? Uh, I think my career was shaped in such a way that I always wanted to be, and I never looked into the shortcuts. People might have looked into it, but I have never. And I think that the struggles which I had it made me as me who I am today. So I don't want to shift in any way. The struggle was quite fine. Struggle was nice. You enjoyed that journey. Still, those fond memories. I still remember that I used to do the bike cycling. Cycling towards from village to city, and then while coming back, there was always a pocket money given it to me, right? And that pocket money was for that if any tire your puncture you have to spend on it, otherwise you have, if let's say that one time that puncture got puncture and then you have to fix it up, and then otherwise a whole week you'll not get that particular pocket money, and then you have to walk around, and then to be either 5 kilometer 10 kilometers you have to walk only, right? But fortunately if any of a week nothing got punctured, so then pocket money is yours. What you will do with that? So I always used to take like the Fridays or the Saturdays, whatsoever the last day or the weekend would be. While returning back, I always take that ₹2 ka wo golgappa and then pani. Things, but made that those particular days remembered, the fond memories. And then I think that the struggle always gives you the courage to know that what worse could happen to you. I don't think that worse could be happen much beyond that. Whatever I felt out of it. So there was always saying, my father used to say that every person has to live his life, the wealth, the fame, the money. Somebody will get in childhood, somebody will get in younger age, and somewhere someone will get in older age. Now you have to decide, right? So do you have to decide that whether you want that all this money, fame, everything at the childhood or at the younger, at this particular adulthood, and then later for your older age. But these things will come in each one's life. That the loss of a family, loss of the parents, then the money, the fame, and your struggle. So somebody will get in early age, somebody will get at the mid of the age, and somebody at the older age. So struggle if as at the earliest the blood you have to make it at the border less than the sweat you do it at your exercise or the gym on that part. So I think that the struggle was quite good enough. I enjoyed it. um, this was my destiny. I enjoyed it. And it could be debatable to for many of the people who would say that that the very next morning I need a job and then nothing is a struggle. So the struggle what we did at that age, the stress is nowadays for the Gen Zs.
Yeah. Wise words, Gaurav. I think thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey with us today. It's really been an honor to have you on the Hacker Club, and I'm sure our listeners have gained valuable insights from your experiences. And one thing which I can say to all the listeners is, do go if you have a newborn, do go and speak with your pandit. It may help you to get a good counseling and consulting for your child as
No,
well.
I no, I won't recommend that. I won't recommend that part. But yes, it's a story related to me. I think if anyone would like to have that particular proof, so I still my mom kept it very very secretly. I have that copy as well
No,
in the
amazing.
data code.
Did you ever met that Pandit, by the way, Gaurav, like
No, no,
after
no, no,
when
no,
you
no, no,
started
no,
your
no.
career?
No, no. I got to know that, by the age of a 6 or 7, I got to know that this was something has been written. And that till 17 or 18, it was more like as a family discussion. Many of the times it was happening. You know that, like, as once you
Correct.
clear that matriculation, and then people always discuss about what you want to do. And then many of the times my parents always wanted to discuss on that part, right? So, so believe me on that part. But yes, Pandit ji was now more that I got to know at the age of 7 or 8. That I think a couple of years later he died. But
Oh.
yes, I can still say that he was from Jalandhar city, and one of my relative, my aunt, has asked him to prepare that. But yes, this is what we have done.
Very interesting. I'm really intrigued, and thanks, Gaurav. Thanks again for joining us today and accepting our invite. To all our listeners, thanks for tuning into the episode of the Hacker Club. Be sure to check out Gaurav's work and connect with him on all the social media. We'll be sharing all these details in the description. See you until next time. Keep hacking the future and do subscribe our channels and hit the bell icon so that you can get the notification on the next episode. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Gaurav, for joining us today. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. So, just before you sign off, I have one final request. Please subscribe this channel and share with your friends who would be benefiting from this conversation which we just had. Feel free to like, subscribe, and click that bell icon so that you get the notification whenever we release a new episode. And show some love to us. Please put out some comments about what you would like to see next. We'll accordingly invite more guests in order to bring their expertise to you. Thank you.